Welcome, everybody. I'm glad you all joined, and inshallah ta'ala, you're all doing well and in good health. Bismillah, walhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalam ala rasulillah. I remind you, dear brothers and sisters, to have a sincere intention in your heart by attending the lesson, seeking reward from Allah ta'ala. MashaAllah, today is the 15th of Ramadan. You notice how fast the days pass by, and it's actually the years that are passing by very fast. So I remind myself and you to really use our time in what is of benefit for us in our hereafter, and not to waste any of our time, for time is really precious. Our topic today, inshallah, is something that is very, very important for those of you who are parents, and those of you who are not parents. Inshallah, one day you might become parents. And when you are a parent, I hope you intend in your heart to raise your child in a way that helps this child become a servant of the religion, a child who learns the knowledge and spreads it, who defends the creed of our beloved Prophet, alayhi salatu wassalam. Many parents nowadays, they have children. They strive very hard. They put a lot of effort and work hard, to gain money and spend it on their children. They provide for food. They provide for shelter. They provide for clothing. And many of them go beyond that and provide their children with maybe toys and games and gifts and other extra material. Yet many of today's parents, unfortunately, neglect to provide their children with something that they also have to do, and something that helps their children in the hereafter, and that is the knowledge of the religion. Many parents nowadays work very hard to make sure that their children go to school. After they come back from school, they're doing their homework, they have their clothing, etc. But they do not look after having their children acquire the obligatory knowledge of the religion. To the extent that sometimes we see parents, for example, scold their child for things that are not so important. They might hit the child because maybe the child did not get such a high grade on an exam, or maybe because the child did not finish his plate of food, even though the child is already full. Yet, actually, when we follow Islam, Islam teaches us how to raise our children, what we have to do, what kind of spending are we obligated to spend on our children, when do we hit our children, and if we need to hit them at all. So, subhanAllah, Islam teaches us these matters. As guardians of children, we need to learn what are the rights of our children. What do I have to do towards my child so that I am really a good parent? So then the guardian of the child needs to learn that. And this is, inshallah ta'ala, what we will be talking about today. So it is an obligation upon the guardian of the child. Here we're talking about a female and a male, okay, a boy and a girl. It is an obligation upon the guardian of the child who is mumayyiz. Mumayyiz means that the child has the capacity to reason and discern. Okay, so he comprehends when addressed. He has the capacity to reason and discern. In Arabic, we say the child is mumayyiz. It is an obligation upon the guardian of this child who is mumayyiz to order the child to pray. And this is if the child has reached 7 lunar years of age, to order the child to pray and to teach the child the rules pertaining to the prayer. As we said, this is after the child has reached 7 lunar years of age. Now, this age of tamyiz, some children might become mumayyiz before 7 lunar years of age, Some children, it takes them maybe a bit longer, okay? They might be maybe at 8 years of age when they are mumayyiz. So this varies from a child to another. But when is it an obligation upon the guardian to do that? It is when the child has reached 7 lunar years of age and when the child is mumayyiz. Because we are talking here about teaching the child to perform a prayer. And the prayer is an act of worship. The child needs to know this. He needs to know when he is praying, he is not playing. It is not a game, to go up and down. No, the child has to learn how to perform the prayer. Remember in our previous lessons when we spoke about the accountable person and who that person is, the child who is not pubescent, such as, for example, a 6-year-old, a 7-year-old, an 8-year-old, this child who is not pubescent yet, he is not obligated to perform the prayer, meaning it is not an obligation upon this child to pray. So if this child does not pray, he or she is not sinful for that because they're not accountable yet. When this child is accountable, he has to perform the prayer. So a child who is not pubescent means he's not accountable. A child who is, for example, 7 years old, 8 years old, he is not pubescent yet. So this child, if he does not pray, he is not committing a sin. But we are saying it is an obligation upon the guardian of the child to order this child who attained 7 lunar years of age and is mumayyiz, to order this child with prayer. It's an obligation upon whom? This is an obligation upon the guardian of the child to order the child with that. If the child does not do that, the child who is not pubescent, if he does not do that, he is not sinful for not praying. But of course, when he starts praying at this young age, this is good for the child. He becomes used to prayer. He learns how to pray. He becomes used to it so that, inshallah, when this child is pubescent, he got used to praying. So when it is an obligation upon the child to pray, he already gotten used to it and he is already performing it regularly. So really, this is good for this child to already start performing the prayer. We know, probably you as I, have heard of people who are maybe 25 years of age or 30 or even older than that. And they have maybe just started praying now, even though they became, accountable years and years before that. Maybe they became accountable at the age of 12, maybe 11, maybe 10. That means they were obligated to perform the prayer at that age. Yet they did not start until many years later. Well, it's good that they started to pray, definitely. Yet they also have to know that they have to make up the prayers that they were obligated to perform and they neglected doing. So what does this person do? I advise this person to make a chart, to write, for example, the Subh prayer, the Dhuhr, Al-Asr, Maghrib, and Isha, and to calculate how many years have I not performed the prayer? Okay, in the year, how many days do I have? Every day, the prayers, and to calculate how many times do I have to perform the Dhuhr prayer? How many times do I have to perform the Asr? And so on with the rest of the prayers. And every time they make up a prayer, they check to keep a track of the prayers that they've already made up. So, of course, they pray the current prayers and they also every day regularly make up many of the prayers that they missed and they were supposed to, they should have prayed, but they neglected praying. So every day they make up some of these prayers and they check how many they have done so that eventually they know when they have made up all the prayers that they did not do when they actually were obligated to perform the prayers. It might take some time for some people if they did not start praying until really later time in their lives. It might take some time. However, this is an obligation. Making up these prayers is an obligation. They're not to think, oh, okay, I have so many, so forget it. No, no, start. Start, have a sincere intention, and this is, the person should know that this is something that is obligated to do, so should strive to fulfill them very soon, because we do not know when we die. And this person, when he left out these prayers, every time a person leaves out performing an obligatory prayer, when it is an obligation upon one, every time one leaves out this prayer, it is an enormous sin. This means the person deserves the torture for it in the hereafter, in hellfire. The matter of the prayer in Islam is not to be taken lightly, not to be put on the side as if it has no weight. No, it has great importance. The prayer has great importance in our religion. So going back to talking about the guardian of this child should know that this is among the matters that I should teach my child and not neglect that. And we said that some parents, strive so hard to bring maybe even tutors for their children when it comes to teaching them about subjects such as mathematics, physics, maybe different kinds of sciences. They might be willing to bring even a tutor, maybe pay this person, this teacher, extra money to teach their children these subject matters. Yet some parents fail to teach their children the matters of the belief, and they also neglect bringing somebody to teach that to their children. If you're not going to be doing that yourself, then take your child to somebody who is knowledgeable and trustworthy and will teach your child these matters. Or ask for this person to come to your place and teach your child the matters of the belief. But of course, you already know, we don't bring anyone to teach our children the matters of the belief. Not anybody, rather somebody who is trustworthy, who is knowledgeable in the matters of the religion, who acquired the rules of the religion from somebody who is trustworthy and knowledgeable. Okay, because you're teaching them something of great value, the knowledge of the religion, the matters of the belief. You want to make sure that the person is teaching them the right creed, the proper belief in Allah and His Messenger, somebody who is showing them the path to paradise and not the path to hellfire. Many of us, if we see our little child, for those of you who have children again, if you see your little child going close to the stove, you might, depending on the age of the child, you might, spank the hand of this child so that he or she removes their hand from the stove. Why do you do that? Because you do not like your child? Because you really just feel like hitting your child? No, you do that because you care about your child. You are worried about their safety and well-being. You love your child. You want what is good for your child. So when you really want that, you want to protect your child from hellfire. And you want to show your child the path to paradise so that when he or she dies, they enter paradise and are protected from hellfire. So the guardian then of the child is obligated. This is an obligation. The guardian is obligated when the child has reached 7 lunar years of age and is mumayyiz, meaning has the capacity to reason and discern, to order the child to pray, and of course to teach them how to perform the prayer, the integrals, the conditions, and of course then when we say how to perform the prayer, you also teach them how to perform wudu, meaning ablution. And Here is what the religion tells us. And remember, when we spoke about the rules of the religion, and we said that these are the good rules for society when society applies these rules. So here, the religion tells us, and to hit the child for neglecting the prayer after completing 10 lunar years of age. So you're ordering the child who has attained 7 lunar years of age and is mumayyiz, you're ordering this child with prayer. And when we say you order, you order with firmness. Not like, if you would like, get up and pray. No, you order the child with firmness. Get up and pray. Make wudu and pray. I'm waiting to see you stand and perform the prayer. So the child sees the importance of it. The child then differentiates when my parent is very serious when it comes to acts of worship, so he feels that this is something of importance, this act of worship, this prayer. So, but when is the guardian to hit the child for neglecting performing the prayer? After having completed 10 lunar years of age. Notice, 10 lunar years of age, the child might have become pubescent or maybe not. But still, the Prophet ﷺ taught us that if the child has completed 10 lunar years of age and is neglecting the prayer, the child is hit for that. Okay? And of course, when we say hit, it doesn't mean severely in a way, in a harsh way that afflicts severe harm to the child. No. And if the child is understanding and performing the prayer, then you don't hit the child. He's already doing the prayer. Okay? And as we said, when the child performs the prayer, this is what is good for him. So then when the child attains 10 lunar years of age, has completed 10 lunar years of age, the child is hit if they neglect the prayer. And the same is done in the case of fasting, if the child can bear fasting. So when the child reaches 7 lunar years of age, the guardian of the child orders this child with fasting. If the child can bear fasting, because the children differ, their bodies differ. But if the child can bear fasting, then the guardian orders this child with fasting. Okay? And he tells them to fast the whole day, not like some parents tell their children fast half the day. No, we're fasting from dawn to sunset. So you tell your child to fast the whole day when the child can bear fasting. When is the child hit for neglecting fasting? When the child has completed 10 lunar years of age. And again, this is if the child can bear fasting. So we don't, when the child is not yet mumayyiz, for example, if the child is at the age of 3 or 4, often you see these little children see their parents pray and they want to imitate their parents. They stand next to them and then they do the movements. They want to imitate their parents. But we as adults, when this child is not mumayyiz yet, we do not tell the child to pray because as we said, we want to teach this child that praying is an act of worship. It is a ibadah in Arabic. It is an act of worship. So when this child is still young, is not mumayyiz yet, he might think this is a game that he's doing, something to play, being playful. So before becoming mumayyiz, we do not tell the child to come and pray. No, we tell the child, watch how we pray, watch and learn. When the child is mumayyiz, that is when the guardian, after the child has completed 7 lunar years of age, that is when the guardian then is obligated to teach the child how to pray and order the child with prayer. And when the child does not pray, the guardian also tells him to make up the prayer that he missed. Okay? Doesn't mean that the child here committed an enormous sin. No, because we said the child is not accountable yet. But the guardian shows him the importance of that, and that if you missed a prayer, you make it up. It is also an obligation upon the guardian of this child, meaning the child who is mumayyiz. It is also an obligation upon the guardian of this child to teach the child the matters of the belief and the rules of the religion. And this is something very important. You know, some parents think that their children are still young, but you know, some children, they start imagining things and having their fantasy here, and they might believe things that are contrary to the belief. So it is important for the guardian of this child who is mumayyiz to teach the child the matters of the belief and the rules of the religion. So the guardian teaches the child that this universe has a creator. The creator is Allah, God who created us, who created you, who created me, is not like us at all. He created you, you have a body. God does not have a body. You have a head, a face, hands, a shape. God does not have any of these. He is not like us at all. God, who created the whole universe, does not need any of it. He is not like us at all, and he does not need any of his creation. God created the skies and earth, and he exists without a place, as he did before creating all of these. If somebody might say, but how will this child understand? The child who is mumayyiz understands, inshallah. And he is learning these phrases, so they become embedded in this child's heart. He grows up having learned these phrases, so that when he's older and somebody teaches him other than that, he knows that this is wrong. He knows that I have learned that God is not a body. I have learned that God does not have hands, that God does not have a shape, that God is not in the sky. Whatever is in a place is created. He knows that I have learned Allah exists without a place. So he learns these. You are protecting your child by this knowledge. So the guardian has to teach this to this child who is mumayyiz. And he teaches them that Allah Ta'ala does not have partners to him in Godhood, that everything happens by the will of Allah, and that Allah does not change. He teaches them the 13 attributes of Allah. And he teaches them that God sent messengers. The first of them is Adam alayhi salam, and then many after Adam came. And the last of them is our master Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and that he is the best of them all. And he teaches them that all messengers of Allah came with the religion of Islam. All prophets said, no one is God except Allah. He teaches the child these matters. He teaches him or her that Isa alayhi salam was Muslim. Musa alayhi salam was Muslim, as all the prophets. Again, I tell you, those of you who have children and whose children are going to public schools are teaching them a lot of things, in many cases, that contradict the belief of Islam. Okay, even private schools that are not Islamic schools, they're teaching them a lot of things that contradict the belief of Islam. And when we spoke about textbooks, and I told you that a lot, if not all, of the textbooks that your children are learning from at schools are published by non-Muslims and probably by enemies of Islam. For you know, the enemies of Islam are many, subhanallah, and they try to spread their poison in many places they can in order to deviate Muslims from their belief. Okay, they do not want to see Muslims applying the rules of the religion. So they try in various ways. And textbooks is one of these ways that they try. And not just the textbooks, even the teacher in the classroom who is not a Muslim. Or maybe he or she is a Muslim, but not knowledgeable in the religion of Islam. You do not control, as a parent, what is coming out of the mouth of this teacher. You know, you don't really know 100% what is this teacher teaching my child in the classroom. This child is at school several hours a day. What are these teachers feeding the child all these hours? So it's important that you, as a guardian, sit with your child regularly at home and teach the child the fundamentals of the belief. So then the child who is mumayyiz, when he hears the teacher say something that contradicts the belief, they know. They know that this is not what I was taught at home from my parents. This is not correct. They can differentiate so that they do not believe what contradicts Islam. And you don't want them to believe what contradicts Islam. So you teach them before somebody else teaches them what is against the belief of Muslims. So the guardian of the child also teaches the child that all prophets came with the religion of Islam and that Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam, Allah Ta'ala revealed to him a book, and this is the Quran, and it is the last of the revealed books, and that Prophet Muhammad is the last of the prophets. And he teaches the child that Allah Ta'ala created a place where Muslims will be, and it is a place where they will have enjoyment, everlasting enjoyment, and that is paradise. And that Allah created hellfire, and this is a place for torture where non-Muslims will be in forever. And he teaches them about the angels, that they're all Muslims, that they're all pious, and other matters also, uh, the prayer, as we said, fasting, and also matters pertaining to the rules, what is lawful and what is unlawful. The guardian teaches the child that lying is sinful. We don't lie, that stealing is sinful, and other unlawful matters, okay? That hitting another Muslim unjustly is sinful. We do not make fun of our Muslim brothers and sisters at school, for example. We do not hurt them unjustly. The guardian teaches the child these matters. And also, the guardian teaches the child the importance of the congregational prayer, praying in jama'ah, in congregation, that this is something that is urged in the religion, encouraged. And likewise, using the siwak, the tooth stick, okay, that this is something that is encouraged in the religion and can get the child actually a siwak and get the child used to doing that. That is good for the child's teeth and other matters as well. So the guardian then teaches the child these matters. And also, the guardian teaches the child who is mumayyiz that zina, fornication, is sinful, and that sodomy is sinful. Some of you maybe might think, do I teach this to a 7-year-old child? And the answer is yes. If this child is mumayyiz, you teach this to your child. And again, believe me, many of our children are learning a lot more things at schools. In many schools nowadays, they're teaching them a lot of these matters, and they call them sexual education. And in many cases, they're teaching them what contradicts the belief. In many cases, I can tell you myself, where at school, where I was as a little girl, they taught things that are opposite to the Islamic belief about, what they refer to as sexual education. And they teach the children these matters and tell them that they are okay to do. Subhanallah. So it is very important as guardians to tell the child what is fornication. And yes, you tell the child what it means. Do not be shy to sit with your child and teach them this. If you don't do that, social media today is showing that to your children. Teachers in many schools are telling them to your children, and maybe they are talking about them in a way that encourages children to do that. So you need to be proactive and teach your child what is fornication, zina. As I just said, you give them the definition of it, what it means, so the child knows that this is sinful. This is something we do not do. This is an enormous sin. And just in case somebody outside your home, tries to do anything to your child has learned what is okay to do and what is not. He has learned that my parents told me that this is something unlawful. I don't do it. I don't allow this person. So they learn these matters. Don't be shy to sit with your child, male or female, girl or a boy, to sit with them and explain what is sodomy, what is fornication, and that these are sinful in the religion. Okay? And they learn that these are sinful matters in the religion so that they avoid them. SubhanAllah, nowadays in many schools, and I have seen these videos myself, where they are teaching young children as young as kindergarten class. They are teaching them what they call, sexual education and gender. And they want to spread this ill belief to our young children. They want to tell them that it is okay for people of the same gender to have a relationship together. Or they want to teach them that it is okay for a boy to imitate a girl or the girl to imitate the boy. So again, the guardian teaches the child that this is not okay. This is not permissible in the religion of Islam. And the child learns to be raised strong and defend the creed and know that this is what is good. These are the rules that are the right rules, the rules where there is wisdom behind these rules. That no, it is not okay for the boy to imitate the girl, or for the girl to imitate the boy in what is specific to males. Okay, we're talking about matters that are specific here to the males or specific to females. Okay, so even if the child is 7 years of age, sit with them, take time to talk to them every now and then and remind them and reteach. They might forget. Reteach them about the fundamentals of the belief. Inshallah ta'ala, we will continue tomorrow with this topic, and Allah ta'ala knows best.